Welcome to episode 12 of the talk show with your host, Jason Takhtadjian. Today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. She is the morning anchor for Fox 11's Good Day LA, Araksya Karapetyan. Araksya, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's Friday, first day of the World Series. Go Dodgers,
That's
you know?
right. That's right. At the time of recording, it's game one of the World Series, Dodgers versus Blue Jays. That's gonna be a big game, and I'm sure you guys were covering that all in the morning, and you're gonna be up all night
Oh my
today.
gosh. I know it's going to be like a very busy few days coming up. Yes.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, it's going to be in Toronto, but it comes back to LA Monday and Tuesday. I
Hmm.
mean, do you have plans already to go to the game on Monday, Tuesday?
Ha, you're funny. I wish. No, we just cover it. We don't actually get to attend unless someone wants to give us tickets.
Wink, wink. Well, that's really cool. That's so cool. Especially with the World Series, Dodgers going back to back. I know last year was a lot of fun as well, covering that with the
Yeah.
Dodgers actually winning it. Do you have any fond memories of when the Dodgers won last year?
I mean, it's always fun. We were at Dodger Stadium, so it's always fun to be in that atmosphere everyone is all hyped up, the ambiance, the energy. It's fun to be with the fans. It's nice to be outside the studio and in the action when those types of things happen. So, but it's also a lot of work. So,
A lot of work, but it pays off in the end, right?
yeah.
That's good. So, for folks who maybe don't know too much, I'm sure they do know who you are at this point, but you are one of the most esteemed journalists in the Armenian American community, in the Armenian community in general. And I'd even go as far as to say in Southern California, to be quite honest, and not just as a journalist, as an anchor, and also as, a figure for the Armenian community. How's things been so far, recently when it comes to just the day-to-day for the work? I know you post a lot on Instagram, and there's a lot of fun segments that you and your co-anchors have. So how's it been recently for you?
Well, let's see. I'm approaching my 14th year here in LA. It's hard to believe that that much time has gone by. But it's nice to be, in this job, you come to a point where you can kind of be stable and stay in a place and not be thinking of the next move, and you establish a life. So, this is where my family is, my husband's family is, this is where we started our family, and this is where I want to be. And mornings are fun because you get to do a little bit of everything. So you do have to be versatile to be able to switch on and off between serious topics and fun topics and do lighthearted segments and then quickly jump back into something that's more serious. So it definitely keeps your mind sharp and exercises the flexibility that you have. If you are incapable of doing that, you're not going to be successful in this job. It's definitely also taught me to kind of just be myself and be authentic and not think of what a news anchor needs to be like or a reporter's voice needs to sound like. And it sounds so simple, but when you get into this business, you have this preconceived notion. You're always trying to look older, appear older because you want to be taken seriously initially. You want to dress differently, have your hair differently to come across in a certain manner. You have less like life experience. That's just the name of the game. That's how it is. And so you're always trying to make up for that. And there comes a point where you can stop worrying so much and just be yourself. And in time, you get that experience and you shed the layer and the kind of like the armor that you put on, thinking this is what a news anchor or a news reporter should be or sound like. So it's refreshing to just basically be yourself.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds simple, but you won't believe how hard it is for people to do that.
How long would you say it took you from the beginning of your career? Because you started in Idaho, right?
Yeah, 2006.
Okay.
Yes. Um, it takes a while. I mean, so I was in Idaho Falls for 2.5 years. I was in Portland for 2 years. And then when I came here, I still was kind of had this idea of what I was supposed to be like.
Hmm.
And it could be frustrating because you can't change the fact you're young or sound young or look young and you don't have life experience. And, people are talking about things or making references to things that you weren't even born, right? So
Yeah.
you have to really work at it and you
Yeah.
feel like you have to prove yourself constantly. So it took a few years for me here being in LA to just kind of realize, especially being on a morning show, that it is what it is, and you just go with it. And if I don't know something, I'm upfront about it. I don't try to pretend, because people see through that. People always say the camera never lies. It's very true. You can only get away with it so much. The camera always sees the truth.
That's true.
So if you can just be yourself, how easy is that? The rest of it just
Right.
kind of falls into place.
Yeah, it's just kind of like taking a deep breath, letting the shoulders drop, just being yourself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to learn that myself, especially, in this news world, especially with the sports background and, me being in that limbo of like, oh, do I want to get back into sports? Do I want to continue with news? Do I want to do both? So yeah, definitely that's something that I'm feeling myself still at 27 years old, trying to, figure
You're
it out. I
young.
think, yeah, for going on 5 years in the professional, scene here. So still, I got a lot more work to catch up. But Fox 11 is such an esteemed station that when you joined, I'm sure you had so many well-seasoned journalists, anchors that were around you. You still have them. I mean, is there a mentor or some mentors that helped you kind of become yourself?
Well, it's very funny you say that, because after almost 14 years, I'm one of the veterans now. So much has changed in the course of 14 years, which is crazy that I'm like the veteran now. Of course, I came here like a newbie, a young kid, basically, and I stepped in to this iconic LA show, Good Day LA, with figures like Steve Edwards, Tony McEwing. You have Dorothy Lucy, Julian Barbary, everyone knows who they are, right? The funny thing is, though, growing up in LA, I never watched them actually.
Mhm.
I came from a family where we weren't really watching local news. So to me, they were just people, and I didn't really realize like how incredible it is that I got to work with them
Yeah.
until later it hit me. But I just kind of came in and was just doing my thing, and things just kind of fell into place. Uh, that's kind of like the story of my life, where I just I am what I am. I do what I do, and things happen. I'm not saying I don't have goals or I don't pursue things. It's just that, when I came, I was just happy to be back in LA, to be working in my hometown. I just wanted to get the job done and do a good job. I wasn't striving to, oh, let me see if I can make it to these hours. Oh, let me try to get an anchoring job. Those weren't things that were on my mind. And those things just organically fell into place, which is maybe the beauty of it all, because I just was myself, and then things happened.
Yeah. And you said you were in Idaho Falls, you were in Portland. Those are two places that don't necessarily have the biggest Armenian communities. So when you came back to LA, I guess it was kind of like a breath of fresh air to have that accessibility and also have, the home cooked meals from your family, or to go to a supermarket and be able to buy Armenian foods that maybe you weren't able to have for maybe a few years while you were living up there.
For me, the biggest thing was just coming home and being around my family, honestly. It was, I would come visit for the holidays and such, but it's the everyday mundane things that we often take for granted that meant the most for me. Just having like the Friday or the Sunday gatherings at my grandparents' house, or not missing a cousin's birthday. Like those are all the little things that in the end matter most. And so it was just so nice to be in a place where you weren't using your vacation days to go home, right? Now you could actually take a vacation because you are home. It was such a nice feeling to have that luxury, and it really is a luxury. But I also grew up in the South Bay, and there is not really a big Armenian community there at all. So my experience is a little different. If I want the Armenian stores and the Armenian movies and theater and bakeries and businesses, I have to drive to Glendale, and that's not a daily occurrence for me. So my experience is a little different than most.
Yeah, I totally get that. For me, being in Vegas, the Armenian community had definitely grown, so it started to feel more like Southern California.
Mhm.
But definitely being in Iowa and now being in Fresno to a little degree, it's like getting that phone call or WhatsApp video from family when they're like sitting on the dinner table, just a normal like get together
Yeah,
gathering, and then you're like, man, I
yeah,
wish I was there. Like just get off of work and go over there instead of just
yeah.
being here by myself or being with friends or whatever it may be in a
Mhm.
different city. That's something that, not a lot of people um, really understand unless they're really journalists or in this sort of field. And nowadays, we see people that are becoming journalists and not necessarily going through the traditional path.
Mhm.
And they still stay home and do it digitally, but still for folks like, for me at least, still trying to travel around and go different places, it's a little bit difficult to keep up with the family, occurrences and events like that.
Well, the business has definitely changed a great deal from the time I got into it to now, or even in the last 10 years. It's very different. I think, could you start in LA out of college? I don't know, maybe, but maybe you can make it back here quicker now. I'm not sure because it's such a different world. Like I was sending out actual physical tapes for my audition reel. Now
Mhm.
you send a link or people just follow you on social media, maybe a potential news director looking
Right.
at someone they're going to hire would just send them a DM. Like it's just such a different world that we live in. And there's good things about that and bad things about that. I definitely think if you end up in LA and you don't have that experience in the long run, it'll be a disservice for you. I think it definitely builds character if you have to kind of go through some of that hardships. I also think that if you experience the ability and learn how to do different jobs in different places and really start from the ground up and build yourself up, it'll play differently in your life. Maybe you won't get that immediate satisfaction that, oh, I've made it. But in the long run, it's better to work a little harder for something, I think.
I agree, and I feel like the experience that I got in Iowa, for example, really does help me in Fresno to be able to kind of handle the workflow, especially being on night side. Whenever you have a story that you're doing, but then breaking news happens, and you have to be
Mhm.
flexible and be able to move that. I think straight
Yeah.
out of college, depending on which college you go to, you might not get that experience. So you might
Hmm.
just getting it for the first time whenever you join a news station. So yeah, definitely things have changed. I've noticed that as well, only in like what 4 or 5 years that I've been. You've noticed even more change. But it gives me hope. It gives me hope that maybe one day I can get to LA or get closer to home and
Of course. Oh my
be able
gosh.
to build
Yeah,
myself up over there.
you will.
I appreciate
Totally.
that. So
Yeah.
recently, you actually I wanted to talk to you about a story that you recently posted on Instagram that you recently did,
Oh.
and it's about a doll like me. I want you to talk a little bit about that story because it was the 10-year anniversary of that becoming a thing, and I know you won an Emmy for that.
Yeah, so originally when I did that story, A Doll Like Me, which is a nonprofit, this woman who actually I found on social media. See, this is that debate about is social media good or bad? Is it used for good or evil? In this case, it was a good thing. I came across her story somewhere. I don't remember. Maybe it was the Good News Movement or something like that, right? There's something like that on Instagram where you follow this handle and they post good news stories, like actual
Hmm.
feel good stories. Maybe that's where it was. I don't even know. This is several years ago, but I just reached out to her and connected with her and put a story together about what she does, where she makes dolls for kids who are going through hardships or have some kind of physical disability or whatever it is. And it was a moving story, a touching story. I mean, it really was. She was doing such an amazing thing. And I did win an Emmy for that. And then she reached out to me recently, a few months ago, and just said, hey, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, but then also shared the story about this little girl locally in her neighborhood who had saved money to donate a doll to someone overseas who this little girl has terminal cancer. And it was just a very touching, moving story. So I did a bit of a follow-up story to it. But yes, it got a lot of attention once again and a lot of positive reviews. It's just moving. I think oftentimes we need stories like that to remind us about what really matters in life and what's important. And it was just a touching piece. So it resonates with people and it makes me feel good that I was able to do something where people it's memorable and people feel good about it or talk about it. We do so many stories all day long, but
Right.
truly if you ask someone, hey, you watched an hour, half an hour of news, what story stuck out, everything kind of blends together. It doesn't even, you know, evoke any emotion. It just
Right.
comes and goes. But there are moments like that where you do a story like this and people think about or talk about or remember or, maybe contribute to the nonprofit. So moments like that are reminders for me that this is why I do what I do.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. I mean, sometimes you get that rare email of someone saying that they love that story. And, you kind
Yeah.
of, for me, like I always screenshot it and I save it because, th those really come far and few between. In this
Yeah.
industry, we get a lot of hate mail sometimes too, or people commenting on what we're wearing or,
Everyone has an opinion. Yeah.
everybody has an opinion. Everyone's a critic, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really refreshing to get those sort of messages because it t does tell us that people are watching and people care, and
Mhm.
it gives us, purpose with the work that we do.
It's
It's
like
really cool.
fuel. It fuels you to keep going. And, there are moments sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Or is this what I'm meant to be doing? And what's the point of this? It just feels like rinse, wash, repeat, that kind of feeling, right? And then you need a little bit of a boost like this, and then it keeps you going until the next boost. I
Hmm.
felt that especially in 2020 with the war and all of that, where, I felt like I was serving a purpose and it felt good to be serving a purpose. And it was a way to have my energy be an outlet through my work, um, a distraction and an outlet, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Our work has definitely, like for me as well, my work has definitely served as an outlet and a distraction from everything that's going on, whether it's, outside of the country, inside the country, in between.
Mhm.
Um, and it's those type of stories too that kind of like give us a certain purpose when a lot of things are bad happening in the news.
Yeah.
There's the good stories that we always kind of clinch onto and hold on to. One story for me was the Armenian Heritage Night that happened at the Warriors game. I got invited to it, and I was able to do a story MMJing with it and talking to Steve Kerr, Rex Kalamian, and then some other folks too. Like even the kids who were able to play the halftime basketball game. It was the first time they were ever in a big stadium like that. People were cheering them on, and for them, those are core memories. Those kids will never forget that, and that's something that'll stick with them. And for me, I'm grateful and blessed that I'm able to tell that story because honestly, I didn't see anybody else do it.
Well, I
So I'm glad I
mean,
was able to do it.
there's so many things that wouldn't get coverage if you weren't the one pushing for it, right?
I guess so. And for example, that story kind of happened by chance because I got an email like on a Friday when all my managers were gone saying, "Hey, we want you for the Warriors game on Monday." And I'm like, "Oh, great. I got to talk to my managers when they're off and see if they're going to be okay with this." And they ended up being okay with it and it all worked out. So it was really nice. It was really, really nice. I want to, kind of wrap this conversation up with a couple more questions about just what your overall goal or goals are for the future. Do you have anything set in stone, or do you kind of are you kind of just now just taking it day by day and just seeing how everything goes with the morning show?
Yeah, I don't know. A few years back, if you asked me that question, it was to just keep doing what I'm doing, and it's nice to have stability and all of that is true. But I don't know. I do definitely feel like I don't know what, but maybe something, and maybe not even in specifically this capacity, maybe something else, but I couldn't tell you what it is because I don't myself don't know. But I definitely feel like I maybe I'm meant to be doing more. So I don't know what that is. It's just a feeling, and maybe it's a midlife crisis. I have no idea. We'll find out. We'll find out together.
Well, I know that you're doing a great job. Okay, you're doing such a great
Uh,
job, and I really, for me, as a fellow Armenian journalist, you really do inspire and motivate me, and you motivate a lot of other people, and you motivate people even outside of the journalism, scene to just do better as, as Armenians, as fellow Armenian Americans as well, to, excel in our work, but also do good work. Like that, I feel like that's the most important thing.
well, I think when you're an immigrant yourself, I feel like well, I'll speak for myself. I feel a responsibility where I represent, us as a community. So you want to be on your best behavior, you want to work hard and achieve because it makes the rest of us look good, right? So that's
Hmm.
something that's always kind of on my mind. And I'm not doing it to show anyone anything. It's just kind of how I operate. Um, but yes, absolutely. I think it's not just we say we support one another. We have to actually physically, truly, genuinely do that, right? That's the
Absolutely.
way you, as a small community, succeed and survive and thrive. So,
Absolutely. Well, Araksya, I think I'm gonna have to call it a show here because I gotta get going and there's other things going on with the state studio. I wish I could talk to you for like another hour, but we'll definitely get our chance, in the future. Thank you so much for coming on the
of
talk
course,
show. I
thank
really appreciate
you.
it. I know you have a busy schedule. You literally said before this recording you're on call, so you could just jump at any minute, and now I'm jumping. So thank you so much, and
Thank
I
you,
really appreciate everything
Jason.
you've done. And who knows? I look forward to meeting you in person one day too.
One day it's going to happen. That's
All
right.
right.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you so much.